don't think you cannot get into Harvard just because of your academic background. If you've seen my previous video on 5 reasons why I think you should apply to a top school, I emphasized it in the video. There's no one way of getting into my school, for example. There was no single path. And so you want to not focus on the numbers alone. This video is just to kind of give you a perspective as someone that actually went there. And I wish more people would give more perspective like this, especially people that didn't have strong academic backgrounds like I did. Today, I'll be sharing the stats that got me into Harvard, and maybe this would help frame your application or see what's possible, especially if you're coming from a low or middle income country like I did from Nigeria. Hi everyone, welcome back. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Maria and I'm a recent graduate of the Harvard Graduate School of Education, where I got my master's degree in education policy and analysis. All right, let's get into it. First off is my academic background. I did my undergraduate degree back home in Nigeria in banking and finance from Covenant University, and I graduated with a first-class degree. I had a 4.92 CGPA of the 5.0. I was the best graduating student in my department, second best in my college, and third best overall. That obviously helped me in my application because it showed academic consistency and commitment over time. Along the way in my career, because I do have a finance background before branching into education, I became a chartered accountant with the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria. And I also wrote and passed the first 2 levels of the CFA, the Chartered Financial Analyst exam, the CFA exam. And I wrote and failed the third, the level 3 of the exam. Hopefully I can rewrite that and pass it again. But those also help strengthen my profile because I have a finance background and I was bringing some kind of unique set of skills to the education space. In terms of my work experience before Harvard, I had about 6 years of work experience before going to Harvard. I worked at Deloitte straight out of undergraduate. We have this program in my country called NYSC, and I got posted to Deloitte, and I ended up being a full-time staff there. I did all the exams and interviews and became a full-time staff in 2019. April of 2019, and I worked in Deloitte for 3 years. I rose to the position of the Experienced Audit Associate, and then I left and joined Startup University, James Hope University in Nigeria, and became the head of finance and operations at the university. And that was my most recent job before moving to the US for my master's program. And that was a very crucial part of my application because that was how I branched into education and education financing. I was a part of the founding team of the university, and I was able to talk about that in my application and the work that I did that was being done by the team in establishing this private not-for-profit university funded by donors in the country. So my program wasn't like an MBA program where you have to have a certain amount of work experience. It was more diverse, so we had people with different experiences. Like I mentioned in my previous video, it was different going there because I met people that were just fresh out of undergraduate degree and people that had worked in different spaces in public policy, in consulting, and just name it, like different people with different varying years of experience. So what I would say is if you're applying, don't just think about grades. You have to think about your impact story. What have you built? What have you led? What have you contributed? That kind of connects back to your purpose. I am going to be posting or have posted, I don't know when this video is going to go live, about my personal statement. And my personal statement truly told a story, and it started from like when I was young and up to going to university, my finance degree, and going to Deloitte, and all of the work I've done towards this degree, it all makes sense. You really have to connect those dots. So if you want to like connect all of these dots together, I think my personal statement and the video I'm going to post on personal statements is going to be very helpful to you. So you might want to check that out. For my program, GRE was optional. I have never written the GRE before in my life. And so I actually submitted my application without my GRE. I was actually at one point preparing for the GRE, but because of the nature of my work, I wasn't able to commit to writing the exam. I was grateful for being able to apply to schools without GRE because it was an opportunity for me to go for my master's without having to write the GRE exam. If your school gives you that flexibility, you can take advantage of it, but you have to make sure that the rest of your profile is really strong. I would say if you don't have the best academic background, you want to write GRE to strengthen your profile. So it really would be based on your profile. And yeah. In terms of essays, I would say make them as personal as possible and not just impressive. The essays are just as important as your numbers, but don't put too much pressure on yourself. It doesn't have to be perfect. I've read some of the best essays, and they were not the ones that started with, I grew up in a land with no water or something like that. It doesn't have to be the classic ones that come from low and middle income countries. I feel like those are being overused. Doesn't mean you can't still use it. If it's your story, you can use it. Please use it if it's your story. I know I mentioned I have a separate videos on my essays, but for my story, I literally started about how my siblings were not able to get admission to the university system in Nigeria. If you're Nigerian, you know how JAM works and how like it's difficult for you to, even if you pass JAM, there's no guarantee that you're going to get admission just because of the limited amount of universities we have compared to the population. And also like different factors like strike, facilities not being the best, and just, so it was based on true story for me. And I really built on that and connected it to my work in university finance and what I hope to do in the future with this degree. My end goal is to transform education in Nigeria and Africa as a whole. And I'm currently working towards that goal step by step. The degree was one step towards that. Your essays really have to connect to what your mission and purpose is. You can say you want to eradicate poverty in your community, but what steps have you taken so far living in that community? Some things have to speak to the mission and align back one way or the other. My essay was focused on education financing, like most of the roots and the source of the problem in universities in Nigeria is education financing. And that's not just because we don't have the money, but there's a lot of corruption and a lot of things that go into it. If we are able to come out of that and have adequate financing, a lot of the problems like strikes, bad classrooms, and all of that will be solved. Finally, my recommendations. My recommendations came from people that knew me personally. It wasn't just big names, even though they did have big names. I worked for a university that was a startup. My direct supervisor was a member of the governing council of the university, made a recommendation. And then the vice chancellor of the university also wrote me a recommendation. I was able to easily gain access to these people because we were a very small team, really close, and so I could easily reach out and ask for recommendation. And then my last recommendation came from my course advisor from the undergraduate school. I hope in the future I can share the letters because I haven't seen them because they actually wrote them for me. But yeah, you really want your recommenders to be people that know you and are willing to give you 1 hour of their time to like draft something relevant. You can send them tips, things that you want to see in the letters. Mine wrote about my integrity, leadership, and initiatives. I sent them, I'm like, hi, can you please write a recommendation for me? These are the things that I've done in the past year. Sometimes people forget, especially if they are supervising people, you know what you did, you know what you achieved. And so you want to remind them that, hello, you want to send them a message and say, please, hi, this is what I did in the past year. That's all my achievements. I would appreciate if you can please help highlight this in your recommendation letter for me to university, something like that. So that might really help. I don't want you to get overwhelmed by my stats. Numbers only tell a part of the story. And I know people that didn't have stats as good as mine that got into Harvard and other top schools. I know people that had stats that were way better than mine and didn't get in. So it's all the combination of both the numbers and your story and your mission and everything you're doing. So I really hope that me sharing this would not make you overwhelmed in any form or way, and it should just help give you some kind of perspective and see what's possible. So Harvard was the last school I applied to in my grad school journey. And I applied a day before the deadline. And I did not think I was going to get in. I applied for an application fee waiver and they gave me the free waiver. And I was like, oh, well, I might as well just submit an application. And I got in, and that ended up being my top choice to go to. So if you're watching this and you're still building your story, I want you to focus on impact, clarity, and your true, authentic self. And so be encouraged and media application. Thank you so much for watching my video today. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you want to. And if you liked the video, if you found it helpful, let me know in the comment section. If there are videos you want to know or things you want to hear about, leave a comment for me and I'll see if I can make that happen. Thank you everyone for the love you showed me in my previous videos. It was really uplifting and nice to see all the comments and emails I got. Thank you so much. And if you'd like to reach out to connect or collaborate, please, my email is in the description box. Please reach out and have a good day or night. See you next time. Bye. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel.